If you've never been to a Minnebar before, we always kick off the day with what we call a session zero. It's kind of like a keynote. It's someone who is a part of the community. They have something really good to say. And so today we are going to welcome up Steve Buchanan onto the stage here to kick us off. Steve has been, he is a principal program manager at Microsoft working on improving cloud computing. He's an accomplished author, including 8 books, contributing to the Minnesota Computer Science Plan. This is not his first talk. He's spoken at DevOps Days, Open Source North, BitCon, OSCon, MS Ignite, and more. If you're into podcasts, he's been featured on at least a dozen. He's been featured in several publications, including our very own Star Tribune. And if you'd like to learn more about him after this talk, you can visit bucatech.com, his personal website. So today, Steve is going to be sharing how to invest in your own success and the success of others to strengthen our community fabric and to empower a future for all. So please give a hand for Steve.
Thank you. Is this on? Is it working? Good morning, everyone. It's awesome to see everyone out here, all your amazing faces. So today it marks 2 firsts for me. It's the first time I've ever been at Minnebar. So that's one of the firsts. The second thing is this is the first time I've given a non-technical talk. So there are no demos to go wrong or anything like that during this talk. So I'm excited to be here and excited to be talking to you all and very thankful for the opportunity to do this and give session 0. So let's dive right in. So I'm big on quotes, and so you'll see a bunch of quotes throughout this presentation. And I want to take a second to read through this, right? So for our own success to be real, it must contribute to the success of others. Now take a second to just think about that quote and think about your own personal journey. And where would you be if no one had taken the time throughout your journey to invest in you? From your parents to bosses, maybe colleagues, professors, teachers, coaches. And for me, what this quote really says to me is once we reach a certain level of success, it's important to realize that others have contributed to our success, and it's important to start to contribute to others' success. And so, really just wanted to kick it off with this. Now, I'm going to take you through a part of my story and a part of my journey. There's a lot there, can't cover it in 30 minutes, but we'll see what we can do. So I'm going to kind of work backwards and start from where I am now and where things are, and then go into a little bit of my past. So this is my wonderful family. My amazing wife is there. I have 4 sons total, yes. And interesting enough, 3 of them, as of now, are heading down a path of tech. And so we'll see if that continues. Things can change. But that's my family. And this is a little snapshot of part of my career. And in 20 plus years, I've had a lot of opportunities to write books, speak at conferences and opportunities like this. Internationally, I've been to Europe to speak and different places, have presented in Africa remotely, hoping to make it over there. And I've done a ton of things. And so I've really been blessed throughout my career. And most recently, I'm at Microsoft leading a research team making improvements in cloud. And so It's been an amazing journey so far, and it's been a great adventure. And often it feels like I'm just getting started, and there's so much more to do. And I've met a lot of amazing people over the course of my career, and you can see some of them on this slide here. Folks that are co-founders of Kubernetes, some of you might know what that is. A distinguished engineer, former distinguished engineer at Google, CEO of Raspberry Pi, and even the CTO of Azure. And so a lot of these people have invested in me over the years, and different friends that you see on here have invested in me, and it's been a really amazing journey. Now, I'm not sharing all of this to boast, but I'm sharing this to give context of where I am today and the amazing journey that I've been blessed to be on. And now I'm going to go a little bit into the past and where I've come from. And so this is me at 16 and 17. And I'm not going to tell you what my age is. You'll have to guess that. I love that because sometimes people get it right. A lot of times people get it wrong and say I'm much younger than I am, and I usually go with that. Now, back then I really didn't know what the future was for me, right? And like a lot of us, I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to figure out where I'm going, trying to figure out life and figure things out. And, you know, there's been some things that have impacted me, and I thought, you know, because of some of those things that have impacted me and others, that it was going to, you know, stifle my future as well. So I had an older brother, and he was headed towards adulthood, and he was also bound for college. And his life was cut short. And this was when I was much, much younger. I was 8 at the time. And so when I reached around his age, my life was almost cut short. And I almost didn't make adulthood. Now, I believe that God blessed me and brought doctors into my life that saved my life. And also I went on from there, and others invested in me, and I was able to finish college. And I was the first one in my immediate family to do so. And another investment that was made in me when I was young, senior year of high school, was there was an owner of a small computer company, and he took a chance at hiring me and started teaching me about technology and about computers. And because of his investment, that gave me a start in the space, and most importantly, gave me exposure. And so there's been a lot of people that have invested in me to help me get to where I am today. And so I said I'm big on quotes. You're going to see a bunch of them. This quote is simple yet profound. And so as you're reading this quote, I want you to remember, no matter where you are or what you've gone through in life, keep going. Your past does not define who you are, and you can control that narrative, and you'll have a different future. And so there's an old adage that it takes a village, right? And it really does take a village to help one be successful. And so here's another quote. Again, you're going to see these. This is from one of my favorite authors, and I'm just going to read through this because it's important. No one, not rock stars, not professional athletes, not even software billionaires, thinking of Bill Gates here, and others, not even geniuses ever make it alone. Right? And so that really speaks to me, and I want you all to think about that with your own journey as well. And so there's been many people that have invested in me over the years, from parents to teachers, pastors, bosses, friends, colleagues, family, and most importantly, me. I took the time, younger, and I still do today, to invest in myself. And I want all of you to continue to invest in yourself. And so if you're working at a company where they're not willing to invest in where you want to head, that shouldn't stop you. You want to continue to invest in yourself in any way that you can. And I've had to do this over my career, and I've had to rebrand what it is I do and shift in different directions many times. And there's one particular story that really sticks out that I want to share with you. And so I was investing in cloud native and really diving into Kubernetes, and I was doing this on my own and putting forth a lot of effort and a lot of time there and sharing a lot of that journey publicly through blogging and social media. Now, an executive at the company I was working at the time saw this, and there was an opportunity that had opened up. And so he saw that I was investing in myself and came to me with the opportunity. And I stepped through the door of that opportunity, and that opened up even more, led to promotions and even having reach inside the company globally. And so I just want you to remember that story when you're thinking about your journey. And I want to take a second here and talk about the circle of investing in others, because that is what has led to this talk today. And I want to call out some folks that are on the screen, Sean Pochel and Eve Pochel. Now, they're here today at the conference, so when you see them, make sure you talk to them and say hi. They're awesome people. Now, many years ago, Sean applied for a role at a company that I was at, and to do Azure Cloud. This was consulting. And he had some experience, but we interviewed him, and he was the right person, and it made sense to invest in him and bring him on so he could focus on Azure. And he came in, and he was a rock star, and he was leading our Azure efforts in the company. Now, I ended up moving on, and Sean ended up moving on later as well, but we stayed in touch over the years, doing lunches, connecting with each other through community events, and we both invested time into each other and staying in contact. And it's through Sean that I met his wife, Eve, and got to know her. And so I've known her for years too. And again, we've invested time through community events. And in fact, I invited her to an event that I had recently around the Minnesota Computer Science Plan. And that led to Eve inviting me to come give this session 0 today. So if it wasn't for meeting Sean many, many years ago, I don't know if I would be up here today giving this session 0. And so make sure that you are investing in others. You don't know where it'll lead, what might happen. It's important to have that circle of investing. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about legacy work. And so what is legacy work to me? So I'm doing some really cool things at Microsoft. Sometimes I can't believe they pay me to do it. Doesn't always feel like work. But is that my legacy? As I grow older and at some point, eventually pass away, hopefully that's a super long time away, what do I want to be remembered for? What are people going to say about me? Are they going to say, oh, he did a really great job at Microsoft, right? Probably not. Folks may not even remember that part of my story. And so I've started to think about that and think about where I want to make impact and how I can improve others' lives or help them along the way. And to me, that's where the legacy work comes in. And so I'm going to share 2 areas of legacy work that I'm doing. And I want you to think about how you can make an impact beyond what you do day to day, maybe through your 9 to 5 or a company that you own. And I'm going to share something from abroad and something locally. So this here, the logo that you see on the screen is for a company named Gabea. And Gabea is headquartered out of Africa. They're headquartered out of Ethiopia, and they have offices around various countries in Africa. Well, they have a very noble mission, and that is to skill up folks in Africa in tech. And they want to help close the digital divide that exists there. And they have, and this is just one of the things they're doing, they have a contract with Microsoft to skill up 300,000 developers across 8 African countries over 3 years. It's one contract. So they're also working with Amazon. They're working with other large corporations to skill up folks in various areas. Now, they needed help and guidance as they transform into a SaaS company and they move on to Azure. So I'm like, hey, I can help with that. So I'm working with their CTO, VP of platforms, and their other leadership, which, by the way, are all people in Africa. And this is a part of my legacy work. I want to have impact and help people over there skill up because this is such a great field and it's done a lot of great things for me. And I want others to be able to tap into those opportunities as well. Now, the second thing is local, and you're not reading that wrong. Minnesota is last in the United States when it comes to computer science. Thank you. Let's get another boo for that. Thank you. And so when I seen this, I'm like, really? Like, we're last behind Wisconsin? We got to deal with the Packers, but also we got to deal with like them beating us in computer science. This has got to be some kind of nightmare, right? But no, this is absolutely true. And so when I saw this, I'm like, there's got to be a solution. We have to invest in the youth, right? They are the future. They're the next wave that's coming up. And like, why aren't we investing in the youth? And so shortly after I saw that news, I saw that the Minnesota Department of Education put out an application for folks to join a working group that they were forming to create a plan for computer science for the whole state, K through 12. And so I applied, and then I forgot about it. And a couple of months passed by, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get it or not. But I got it. And I was added to that team. And I want to bring up the names. I'm not going to call out every name, but I want to honor the folks that were in that working group. And there's folks here from all sorts of spaces, mostly from the education space. And there was even some high school students that were a part of this working group. And we worked together over a 6-month period. Some of that was in person, and some of it was time actually writing the plan. And we worked really hard and worked with the Minnesota Department of Education, and we came together and came up with a plan and wrote it. And it was a lot of work, but it was definitely worth it. And so here are the 10 key areas from the plan. I'm not going to go through all of these, but there are some things that I definitely want to call out. Number one, part of that plan is to form a committee, an advisory committee, that's going to do the ongoing care and feeding of the plan as it rolls out. And they're going to be there to help roll it out and implement it. And so if any of you are looking for a way to tap in and plug in and start to do your legacy work, if this speaks to you, keep an eye on MDE, the Minnesota Department of Education, their website, because they'll be putting that out when that ask is ready. And so there's some other things too in this plan, and I highly recommend you go out and check out the plan. Here's where you can get that. So let me get out of the way. You can scan that and download the plan, and you can read through it or scan through it. Now, the last that I heard is that the plan has gone to the Capitol, and it's been approved, but without funding, so we'll see how that goes. All right, I'm going to keep moving here. So I want to talk about community for a second, because community is absolutely critical. I mean, you're here today, this is a community, and this is put on by a community team. And so it takes more than just the state to invest in areas where we need it, and there's been many organizations that have been filling the gaps and continue to fill the gaps. And so I really just wanted to honor them, and I'm sure there are some that I'm missing, but I wanted to pull them up here. And many of these organizations I'm involved in, some of my volunteers sit on the board, and they're doing amazing things. Everything from, making sure that there's a space for women in tech, there's a space for youth in tech, like BDPA is doing coding classes for youth right now, and they're absolutely free. Even at Microsoft, Blacks at Microsoft, and that's what's on my shirt here today. We do things in the community. There's Smart North, DevOps Days, Minneapolis, gives opportunities for folks to speak, and there's just a ton of stuff here. So I'd love to get a round of applause for these organizations, just quickly. And if you haven't heard of some of these organizations, take a picture and go do some research. They're doing some really great things, and there might be a space for you to plug in. And those are all local, and there was 26 on there. So I want to take a quick second, and I want to pause, and I just want to take 60 seconds, and I want all of you to turn to somebody next to you, somebody you don't know, because this is a part of investing, and just tell them what two sessions you're planning to attend today and why. So I'm going to time it. So let's go. 60 seconds. How are you doing? I don't know. We'll talk after. All right, time's up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So I wanted to do that as a way to get the conversation started. I wanted you all to start investing in each other. So What I want you to do from here is, like, after this talk is over, continue that discussion and continue to get to know the person you started talking with. This is awesome. I've never seen a crowd go from like silence to just talking. Like, this is awesome. All right, we're gonna continue the talk because we're almost over and I'm running out of time here. So if everyone could stop your discussions and continue after we're done. Because I do have an ask for all of you. Thank you. That was awesome. I'm just gonna repeat briefly. That was amazing, going from like dead silence to everyone just talking. It reminds me of like the frogs at night in the back of my house. When it gets dark, they just start going, right? I love it. So after this session 0 is over, continue that discussion. Continue to get to know the person you started that conversation with. That's what investing in each other and community is about. Now, I have an ask here, and I can't let you leave without asking you to go buy my course. I'm joking. I have nothing to sell, but I do have an ask, and so the ask is simply take the time to invest, right? And you have to start with investing in yourself. So if you were thinking about launching that business, get started. If you were thinking about starting with that MBA program, get started, right? Contact that university. Apply for that job. Maybe you don't have all the qualifications that are needed, but apply for it anyway. You never know what might happen. Or make those connections here today and express your interest. Register for those certifications. Go for that promotion. You never know. And if you wanted to write a book, get started. You can even start before you've made contact with a publisher, or you can self-publish. And I want you to think about investing in others. Mentor someone, and more importantly, sponsor someone. There's a big difference between mentoring and sponsoring, right? If you're sponsoring, speak up for that person in those rooms that they're not in. Help that person get that promotion. Make those connections for that person. Make those job referrals, right? We're in a time right now where a lot of people have been laid off, and we continue to see layoffs. Make those job referrals. Let's help get each other back to work if you're out of work. Be present in conversations. So we just saw everyone doing a great job at that. When you're talking to someone, minimize the distractions and really listen. Be present. Don't think about the next conversation or the next person you want to talk to. Really engage with that person. Take that meeting, lunch, or call, right? And then invest in the youth. The state is starting, and it's just a start, to do something around bringing computer science to the youth, but it's going to take time. Education moves slow. Government moves slow. There's a lot of community orgs, and we're all in this room, and there's things that you could do today. You can mentor a youth. We need a ton of that. I think about people that invested in me when I was young. Never thought I'd be given a opening session at a conference way back then. Volunteer at a youth org, right? You have coding skills, you have cloud skills, you have business skills, volunteer. The youth need to see that, and they need to see themselves in you. Fund a youth org, right? All of this kind of stuff takes money. That's what powers this stuff, and so we need organizations and people to fund different orgs. And then check out the Minnesota Computer Science Plan, and if you're up for it, support it. You know, reach out to the politicians that are working it through the system and let them know, like, you care and you want the youth to have access to those opportunities. And invest in community, right? Attend a conference. You're doing that today. Attend user group meetings. Join a community org. Start a community. Is there a gap? Is there not a community for folks like you or in a space where you know there's a need? Start it. All you need is a few people with some ideas to get together, and there's lots of companies that will help sponsor you and donate spaces and things like that. And then sponsor a community org. Is the company you're working for, are they looking for user groups or community orgs to sponsor? Make that connection. And then invest in today's event. So you're already doing that because you're here, which is amazing. Be engaged in the sessions that you attend today. And what I mean by that is like, put away the phone, close the laptop. I know you might be taking notes and that's okay, but if you're not, close that laptop. Really give that speaker your attention and invest in what they're saying. Like, be engaged. Meet someone new today, you know? And when you meet someone new, reach out to someone that doesn't look like you. Reach out to someone that doesn't live in your neighborhood. Connect with someone that might be different, that you might not normally talk to. That's what this is about. We need more community. We need to invest in each other. Bring others into your discussion circles. So I know we all see it at conferences. There's a group of folks gather together, and they might know each other. They're having a good discussion, and someone walks up kind of on the outside, and they're listening in. Step to the side. Make space for that person to get into that circle too, and even invite them in. Bring others into those discussions. And then for next year's Minnebar, start prepping your session ideas now so you can submit to speak. And then I want to leave all of you with this. This is an adage that I subscribe to, and I try to keep this top of mind as I'm doing things or moving throughout life. And a rising tide lifts all boats. I'll read that again. A rising tide lifts all boats. So there's many things that we can all do, that we can invest in, time that we could give, spaces that we can be in, that help lift the tide for everyone and benefits everyone. And tech is such a huge space, and despite the layoffs and things we're seeing now, it's not slowing down, it's growing and expanding. And so that wraps up the end of my talk. Thank you all for taking the time.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much, Steve.